Hello, welcome to the first video on the channel. My name is Matty Howarth.
I'm Will Richards.
And today we're pretty much going to be talking about our agency journey over the last 8 years. As young as Will looks, we're a decade apart in age. I'm 23, Will is 33, soon to be 34. And we have been running our agencies for coming up to 8 years now. And we actually started a few months apart, really, back in 2018. Funny enough, I am your typical high school dropout. I left school at 17 years old. Will went down the traditional route. And
So I did the uni agency life, but had a lot of customer service jobs and stuff before that. So yeah, just very, I guess I followed a very traditional path in that sense.
100%. And yeah, honestly, we want all of our videos to be very raw and just authentic, really, because obviously there's a lot of you guys probably watching this, guys and girls who want to get into the marketing agency space. You want to understand from people like ourselves who have been in it for 8+ years, realistically, what it takes to actually grow an agency. You know, we've grown our agencies to multiple six figures, and over the last 8 years, let's just say we've been through a lot. It's not been easy, but obviously that's the business model we're in, the marketing agency space. It's not an easy business model. It's definitely not like your typical drop shipping or, trading. It's a business model where you're dealing with other business owners. It's human-to-human relationships, and genuinely, we want to talk more about our experience. So, Will, do you want to kick it off and just talk about how you got into the agency space?
Yeah, so as I say, I've done a lot of courses, basically like jumping from different college courses, went to uni. I did computer science for the first year at uni. Before that, I had this idea that I wanted to get into youth work, so I did that for a little bit before jumping into that. I was literally just starting about. And then within the computer science degree, I got about halfway through. We did one module on web design, and I thought, actually, I really like this. Quickly got to kind of the end of that, swapped over courses on kind of a whim, and went over to graphic design and marketing. Got very good at that, won a couple of design awards and things in the industry as well. Then left, had a job within about a year in an agency doing print design, and then ended up dropping out of that as well and starting my own agency.
Shows the age gap. There was no print advertising in my time.
But yeah, then they weren't as open to digital marketing and stuff. So I was like, okay, I think I can do this on my own, so I kind of quit. I had a friend who was in the Amazon FBA space who I'd worked with before, so he'd quit and started doing that kind of full time. I saw him on YouTube, and then I effectively became his assistant, so I was helping him out for a little bit. Then he needed help with ads, gravitated into that, and then it all went from there.
Crazy. And then, I sound like your typical high school dropout story because from a very young age, I was very entrepreneurial. Like even when I was 13, 14, I remember I was sort of drop shipping Yeezys, buying and selling, which was quite fun. Back in the day, there was huge profit margins in that. The whole Kanye West Yeezy world was huge back then. I think this was in 2015, around 2013, 2015. And then I got to the age of 16 and I actually started my first actual business, which was an events company in London. I started throwing all these pretty much sort of nightclub events for 16 plus 17-year-olds because I saw it was lucrative. Like I saw a massive gap in the market because in London you get all these 18 plus events. There's not really anything going on for 16, 17-year-olds. So started that with one of my friends, and then actually around a year into running the business, I was already running ads for the events company and realized there was a huge opportunity in the ads world. And funny enough, a lot of people obviously know Imran Gadzi in the space. I had a few friends who knew him back in the day, and he's only a year above me. I believe he's 24, obviously I'm 23 now, and he used to go to the same gym as me back in London. It was David Lloyd's in Fulham. A friend introduced me to him, and Imran kind of opened my eyes up. I remember when I first met him, he had around, I would say, 50,000 followers on Instagram. He'd never even released a course. He was still actively building his agency, and he told me, Matty, look, there's a huge opportunity for you to actually run ads for other businesses. So that's kind of where I took the leap of faith. Started reaching out to a few businesses, doing a bit of freelance here and there. Didn't actually properly have my agency running. I didn't have any team members. It was literally just me doing everything. And then around 6 months into the agency journey, really, I decided, you know what, I'm going to drop out of school and go all in. So 17 years old, dropped out of high school. It was obviously college back in the UK. To be honest, fast forward, obviously 8 years later, Will and I have decided to partner up. So it's been a hell of a journey. But I did spend, when I dropped out of college, I did spend like about a year working with this one particular company in London, a design and build company called NU Projects. Was literally running their ads for about a year. And then the owner of that company decided to partner up with me and start an agency. So it was quite cool because I was 17 years old. I had an office in London and it felt like a dream come true. But then I actually realized I got into the agency business model because I wanted the time freedom. I wanted to work from anywhere. I wanted that location freedom. Hence why then I kind of decided to start my own agency and go all in really, and growing social optimum. And then, fast forward, Will and I met 2 years ago here in Bali. We had a friend that's been living out here for a long time now. He invited a group of us out, a load of entrepreneurs, and we met 2 years ago. I knew that you were killing it in the ads world. I was obviously running my agency as well, and we actually then, you ended up going back to the UK, didn't you? And then, do you want to explain the rest of the...
Yeah, I did. Well, going back to the start as well, so following shortly on from that, obviously you went through the Eman Gadzi kind of route. I went through the Jordan Platten route. So if you know anything about the marketing space back in the day, they were kind of direct competition. And it felt very much like you kind of went with one side or the other. But I think this is the thing. Jordan kind of resonated more with me because he was similar age to me. He actually worked at the same Apple store that I did as well. So we ended up working on a few projects as well. I was very much in the info product space, so I was helping people out in the course space. Jordan's agency's always been incredible at e-commerce, so we collaborated on a couple of projects back in the day, particularly with the launch of things like Affluent. But I kind of went through down that whole kind of track, and as Matty said, more recently we've partnered up. So Agency in a Nutshell was my original agency. I actually grew that through referrals, so got a client, focused purely on service delivery, and then obviously signed more off the back of that, and that's simply because I've never enjoyed the outreach side. I've never had that kind of sales-driven mindset to hit the targets every day.
When Will and I first met, you had, 80 followers? Like
80, yeah.
You didn't enjoy social media at all?
No posts on Instagram, nothing like that. So it was very much like, obviously, if you're signing clients and you're doing that, you have to have this kind of presence and you have to have that authority, which, simply put, I didn't have because, like I say, I'd grown mine purely for referrals. So we got amazing results. And people always used to say to me, like, I don't shout about my results enough or anything like that. So kind of, 7 years in is when we finally decided to merge. It made a lot of sense kind of from my end because then I can focus 100% on service delivery, and I'd seen already how shit hot Matty was when it came to the sales side of things as well. He just seemed to be closing clients left, right and centre. So it was like, cool, this merger could be huge because then we can both focus on effectively what we're best at.
100%, yeah. It's been an exciting one because, to be honest, I love running an agency. I love sort of managing teams and sort of building systems and building SOPs. But at the same time, it does get to the point where I don't enjoy really being in the ad accounts as much. Will loves the whole data side of things. He loves going into the ad accounts, even to this day. Like some of our clients that we've obviously signed together since joining up, you still actively, even though we've got media buyers, you still actively look over the accounts, make sure that every single media buyer is shit hot and actually performing to the best. So genuinely, it was a weird time because obviously we now had to merge everything together, and as you can imagine, literally having a business partner has changed everything. Half the weight's off my shoulders now. I feel like hiring becomes a lot easier because it's just you know what?
Yeah, there's a lot of things. A lot of people say to me, the thing is now that you've partnered up, of course, everything's now 50-50. So obviously you're going from 100% of a business to 50, but it's half the reward, but half the risk as well. When it comes down to if you got to hire someone that's there, if you have an issue with a client, it's half and half. Everything becomes like that. Even paying for stuff is, we've set up a joint account and things, so subscriptions and everything then come out. It's all half and half. It's made things a lot more realistic, I think, and things feel a lot more predictable. Say any issues within the business or any. It's equally just like a sanity test. I think sometimes you sit there and you're working on your business on your own behind a laptop, and sometimes you're kind of questioning, is this the right call? And just having someone you can relay that to and be like, am I being a fucking idiot, basically, is quite a good way of doing it.
One thing about Will's a massive overthinker, and I like to move with speed. I've literally over the last 8 years, I've always been just bang, move with speed, move with speed, sales. How can I move the needle with my agency? Will's very much strategy, overthinking it, which is great because now we're essentially two very different people, but the combo is literally perfect for what we're growing.
Well, because what it means is that move with speed in the sales front is 100% the right way to go. When it comes to overthinking from an ads level, it's okay, you got to think when you're training a media buyer, how can we ensure they're not making spelling mistakes? So it's you put systems in place to prevent that. It's quality control is something that I'm really kind of very focused on, because at the end of the day, although it sounds very small, if you have a spelling mistake on an ad, you can lose all of the trust with the client, and then they're going to be checking over the ad account constantly and stuff like that. And equally, it's not really acceptable for an agency standpoint either. So that's one thing we try and wipe out.
Since joining up, I remember we signed a client over in Australia. They were spending $250,000 literally dollars a month on ads, and we had one of our media buyers make the smallest mistake with the ad copy, but at the end of the day, as agency owners, we've got to take the responsibility. We end up losing that client because of that one mistake, and then it just comes back down to SOPs, structure.
Yeah, because the thing is, you like, we're all human, right? So people are going to make mistakes, and the thing is, if it happened once, that's fine. Then it's our role to put in some sort of standard operating procedure for that, because if it happens twice, that's really on us at that point. Because at the end of the day, like, it happened once, we recognised it, we did nothing about it, then it's happened again. If it happens once, you put some sort of doc in place or some sort of procedure, whatever it is. If it does then happen again, that media buyer hasn't then followed that procedure, so then it's very different. And yeah, you can go back to them and have that conversation, but yeah, it should always be a case of like the agency should evolve kind of with every mistake.
And back to like moving at speed and overthinking, I think it's a great combo, because even within the business itself, I could tell over the since before we merged, I could tell over the last 7 years, you were pretty, complacent, like just working with the current clients, whenever a referral came in, great. Since we've partnered up, it's like, I'm just thinking, how can we move at speed to grow this to the next level? But also you then come in with the, your overthinking areas, you're thinking, how can we actually build a strategy, and how can we build structure where we're not going to move at speed and then it's just going to suddenly crash, which is literally, that's what I need. It's ideal.
The thing is, when it comes down to, like I say, I've been very service first. And what that has meant is I have gone through periods in the past where I've been like, right, I'm going to send X amount of DMs a day, all of the important stuff that you have to be doing when growing the agency. But my mindset was the second accounts dropped off, I would then jump back into the ad accounts, focus on the current clients. So that might mean you go through like a week or a month or whatever, where suddenly you're not doing any outreach. So the agency's not really growing. And the trouble is, if you're relying on referrals, you're literally growing the agency on luck. What's nice now is like, I'm focusing on the ad accounts, Matty's signing new clients. It gets to a point where like, if I'm then at capacity, we then need to hire someone else. So I have to grow with the business. Like I have to then become more of like a managerial role. And that's been really important. And now like we've been hiring people and bringing more people in. I've had to let go of a lot of control naturally, just because we've been getting more people in. And if I was to do it all myself, the service is going to decline.
Yeah, 100%. And this is a big one for anyone watching at the moment. Like for us right now, a lot of it's just on strategy and overseeing team members. Because I remember the very beginning, like at the beginning of my agency, and probably the same with you, where you're just in the ad accounts all the time. And then it just becomes, you don't really give any good feedback to the clients because you're just spending all your time. You're just a slave to your own business, really.
Yeah, and the thing is, if you've got one client, you can dedicate all your time to doing that. 2 clients, suddenly 50% of your time, and so on and so on. So if you get to the point where, you've got 10, realistically, your time is going to be divided, so, diluted between all those clients. And ultimately then the service is naturally going to get worse, because like you can't just be all hands on deck all the time, and you need to figure out ways to do that in the early stages. So I used to do it where you've got like account management over the course of the week, and then you might have 2 focus clients where you really dive into those accounts on, say, each day. So you might do like Monday might be client 1 and 2, Tuesday client 3 and 4, and go through like that. So you're keeping up with all of it, but ultimately, as you grow again, you're going to get to the point you literally can't do it yourself. And the only way to get to those kind of huge levels in any business is to have a team behind you.
100%. And yeah, I don't think we touched too much on this, but obviously our new agency, Booster Agency, we predominantly focus, like our bread and butter is definitely paid advertising, Meta, Google, TikTok, like all the main platforms. But recently we've just realized like it's genuinely not enough nowadays just to be a paid ads agency, which is why, we're bringing creative teams. We're trying to build the whole creative side of the agency. On top of that, be able to just provide extra services such as email marketing, having someone that's a specialist on Klaviyo, helping with e-com clients. So when I started my agency back in 2018, I never focused on one niche, never focused on one industry. I've worked with literally every industry you could think of out there. And even to this day with our new company, Booster Agency, we don't actually have like a specific niche we work on. Obviously, majority of our clients are in the e-com space. We have some pretty crazy, like random industries. Like recently, we've just taken on a massive, huge real estate deal. So we're helping this massive property group here in Bali, actually. And on top of that, we work with random niches. And this is where you've got to follow patterns and trends. I remember at one point in your agency, what do you want to touch on that? You started obviously your solar.
Oh yeah, so this was the thing. There was like a bit of a solar boom at one point within the agency space, and equally what I always say, and we touched on this kind of in the program and stuff as well that we've got, is basically when it comes down, I would always do like generic branding for the agency, so you can go after any niche. Yeah. But then if there is kind of like I say, there was a solar boom, so at the time I was operating under Agency in a Nutshell. We created Solar Accelerator, which was like a new landing page, so we looked like a solar specialist agency, and we just dived into that for sort of 6 months. Really cool niche for a little while. then again got flooded. Every agency owner had the same idea. So again, diversified back out. But what I'm saying is you're better off going more generic and then specializing every now and again. And some of those will be more long-winded, but there's people I know who've gone into like a certain niche, have done really well, and then some sort of regulation or something will change, and suddenly that's not really feasible, and you have to kind of branch back out anyway. So that was quite a big thing for us. But yeah, Booster's very much now going to be creative focused, which I love because my background is, to be honest, as much as I love the numbers side, the creative side is definitely more exciting, and it's what my background's in as well. So
I think the combo of both.
Yeah.
You've got creative agencies out there, create content, but they don't necessarily think of the ROI.
And we actually work with a lot who struggle with this side of it. So basically they're like incredible at what they do, but they can't, the value is not there. So the client's like, okay, you've made this amazing video for us, but like, you know, they can't show any numbers. Whereas if we can say, right, we've created this ad has led to X number more customers, X number more sales, it's going to be massive. So this transition is actually really exciting.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. And also just to touch on industries and niches, because obviously over the last 8 years, I've never worked to one niche and one industry. When you're starting your agency, like Will said, you need to be open-minded. It's okay once you find your niche and you actually enjoy working in that particular industry. Yes, it's fine to like double down and just focus on that. But I think at the beginning, there's too many of these people on YouTube, and especially these courses that I've gone through that tell you you've got to find one niche, you've got to stick to it, you've got to be a specialist in it. But to be completely frank with you, I've seen so many people in these courses. I've to this day, I've invested well over 5 figures into so many different courses. I know Will has as well. He's bought every course out there. But to be fair, like every single course out there in the agency and marketing space, they tell you to find a niche. And to be honest, I see it with individuals. They spend 8 months literally doing outreach to this one niche, and they don't get anywhere, and then they give up on the business model and say it doesn't work for them. When actually you're better off choosing maybe 5 different industries, dabbling in each one, seeing which one works for you. Because at the same time, imagine I reached out to a business today and I said, look, I'm a specialist in solar. And they say, okay, well, if you're such a specialist, show me some case studies of solar businesses you worked with. That's where you're going to really struggle. So I generally think at the very beginning, just be a bit more open-minded. And that's why Will and we've got skin in the game. And I'm so against a lot of these gurus online, which is now why we've created Agency Booster, which essentially is just us helping other agencies, bringing them SOPs, bringing them the most up-to-date systems that we use within our agency. Because to be completely frank with you, most of these businesses nowadays, they're going to understand service delivery better than you do. It's so true. Like,
it is at the end of the day. What would be, this would be quite, so obviously we're coming to rounding off now anyway, what would be one thing that you would want to, or one skill that you would think this would make a successful agency owner?
For me, when it comes to mindset ultimately. Like obviously it's all well and good, like sharpening your sword, learning service delivery. Obviously a lot of agency owners out there nowadays, they think it's like drop shipping. They think they can just outsource from the beginning. I generally think you need to spend a bit of ground, like don't spend a year figuring out how to do paid ads. Don't spend a year figuring out how to Photoshop. But what I'm trying to say is at least understand your services, because you're going to jump on sales calls and they're going to ultimately understand service delivery better than you do. Obviously not only that, just having the right mindset. There's a lot of people out there who unfortunately just not made for entrepreneurship. They're not made for business and running an online business. You've got to have that grit. Like I remember there were times where I was just so lonely. Like you've got to go through that time where you just spend 15 hours behind a computer. You probably went through it as well.
Well, this is the thing. Like my thing more and more that I'm recognizing is, and I think it's been essential to our growth as well, and even like in the way that you're talking now, like humility is a massive part on it. Like there's so many people I see that they quit their job, that I'm a big agency owner. Well, you got no clients, you're unemployed. That's the reality of it at that point. And if you go into it and you're always kind of like willing to learn and you're willing to, you know, make mistakes and be open about, do you know what, I have kind of, you know, screwed up now, but I'm going to be better for it. That's the best way to do it. I see too many people jump into it with too much of an ego. Post on social media like they're this big I am and all this, when they haven't actually had any success. And I think, there are people who are that much further forwards. You don't know everything, particularly at the start. Yeah. And even down the line, you know, if you're 5 years in, 10 years in, there's still so much you can learn from basically anyone else.
100%. Like even with the program that we've just released and helping agency owners as well, like every single week, the agency space is evolving. There's stuff that we've got, systems that we got to bring into our own agency, which we then just obviously throw into our program as well. So, you know, having that sort of skin in the game, there's too many of these guys nowadays on YouTube, especially, they get to 5K a month and then they literally just say that they've got a course. It's just ridiculous. We see it all the time. With Will's kind of age gap and like being 10 years apart, I think it brings a lot to the agency and also to our program, because we just got different experiences, don't we? Like, very different experiences. But anyways, we are going to wrap up the video because we're trying to keep them around 20 minutes long. As always, you know, comment anything below, anything you want us to touch on. I know a lot of people on Instagram are hitting us up saying they want videos on service delivery, so Will is he's gonna get on it. Yeah, trust me, we'll get it sorted. But yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. This is our first video for the joint channel, and we look forward to seeing you in the next one.
Yeah, speak soon.